Those who read this letter will be the most successful people today. I will be the one to provide you with knowledge, experience, and wealth. Most importantly, from this point forward, I will help you memorize the lessons of success in the shortest time possible. Share me with your friends so that together, we can become elite and build lasting wealth. When you realize this, everything changes. There is an invisible thermostat governing your life, a silent sentinel that dictates the exact degree of your success, the depth of your bank account, and the height of your ambitions. You may work 18 hours a day. You may possess the intellect of a genius, and you may master every technical skill in your field. But if this internal setting is misaligned, you are destined to remain in a state of perpetual struggle. This is the haunting revelation at the heart of the journey undertaken by T. Harv Eker, a man who had tried everything to be successful, only to find himself repeatedly crashing against a glass ceiling of his own making. He was the classic yo-yo entrepreneur, earning a fortune one day and losing it the next, fueled by a manic energy that produced plenty of heat but no lasting light. It wasn't until he encountered a wealthy friend of his father's that the truth was finally unmasked. The man looked at him and said, "If you're not doing as well as you'd like, all that means is there's something you don't know." What Eker didn't know was that he carried a money blueprint buried deep within the recesses of his subconscious. This blueprint is a collection of thoughts, feelings, and actions that were programmed into him during his childhood, acting as a spiritual DNA for his financial life. It is the realization that we live in a world of cause and effect. Most people spend their lives focused on the fruit, the results, the lack of money, the failed businesses, forgetting that it is the roots that create those fruits. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. The narrative of Eker's transformation begins with the dismantling of this internal programming. He realized that his thoughts led to his feelings led to his actions, and his actions led to his results. To change the results, he had to go back to the source, the thought. The analysis of this psychological architecture reveals a brutal truth. Most of us are running on autopilot programs installed by parents, teachers, and a society that fears wealth. We are told that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are greedy, or that you have to work hard for every penny. These aren't just phrases, they're commands that our subconscious obeys with terrifying efficiency. If your subconscious believes that money is bad, it will literally sabotage every opportunity for wealth to keep you good and safe. The lesson learned is that your financial life is a perfect reflection of your internal blueprint. If you are programmed to earn $50,000 a year, the universe will conspire to keep you at that exact level. If you happen to stumble upon $1 million, your blueprint will ensure you lose it quickly to bring you back to your comfort zone. True wealth begins only when you consciously rewrite the script of your mind. Eker illustrates this through the archetypal story of the lottery winner versus the self-made millionaire. A person with a poor person's blueprint who wins the lottery will almost always be broke within a few years because their internal thermostat is set to poverty. Their mind cannot handle the heat of sudden wealth, so it creates leaks, bad investments, excessive spending, or sudden disasters, to release the pressure. Conversely, a self-made millionaire like Donald Trump or Howard Schultz can lose everything and be back at the top in a matter of months. Why? Because their internal thermostat is set to millions. They don't just have money, they are wealthy. The analysis suggests that the only way to permanently change your financial level is to reset your financial thermostat. You must move from being a victim of your past programming to being the conscious creator of your future. The storytelling then moves into the first of the wealth files, the 17 ways the rich think differently from the poor and middle class. The first and the most vital distinction is the concept of responsibility. The rich believe, I create my life, while the poor believe, life happens to me. Eker describes the victim archetype, someone who blames the economy, their boss, or their spouse for their failures. They justify their lack of success by saying money isn't that important, and they complain incessantly. The lesson here is profound and stinging. Whenever you blame, justify, or complain, you are literally cutting your own financial throat. You cannot be a victim and be rich at the same time. The rich understand that they are at the steering wheel of their own destiny. They don't wait for the wind to change, they adjust the sails. This shift from victim to creator is the threshold of power. From this foundation of responsibility, we encounter the story of the big thinker. Most people are terrified of their own potential. They play small because they are afraid of failure. Or worse, they are afraid of success and the responsibility it brings. But the rich understand that they will be paid in direct proportion to the value they deliver to the marketplace. If you solve problems for 10 people, you will earn a small amount. If you solve problems for 10 million people, you will be wealthy beyond measure. The analysis of this principle suggests that playing small is a form of selfishness. It robs the world of your talents and keeps you in a state of mediocrity. The lesson learned is that wealth is a byproduct of serving others on a massive scale. To grow rich, you must grow yourself into a person who can handle big problems and lead big groups of people. The narrative intensifies as it explores the commitment to being rich. There is a vast difference between wanting to be rich and being committed to being rich. Most people want it, but they have too many conflicting files in their brain. One part of them wants the freedom, but another part fears the work or the judgment of others. This internal conflict creates a weak signal to the universe. The rich, however, have no such conflict. They are all in. They are willing to work 16 hours a day, sacrifice their comfort, and risk their security to achieve their goal. This isn't about greed, it's about the intensity of purpose. The analysis shows that the moment one definitely commits, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and material assistance. The lesson is that the universe will only open doors for the person who has burned their bridges. As the story of the millionaire mind unfolds, we see the rich as opportunity-focused, while the poor see obstacles and risks. The rich see potential and rewards. Ika tells the story of two people looking at a vacant lot in a developing neighborhood. The poor person sees a pile of trash, a dangerous area, and a waste of money. The rich person sees a future shopping mall, a community hub, and a massive return on investment. The difference isn't in the lot, it's in the eye of the beholder. The rich understand the action principle. They get ready, they fire, and then they aim. They don't wait until every light is green before they start their journey. They know that once they are in the corridor of action, new doors will open that they could never have seen from the sidelines. The analysis of this behavior reveals that the perfect time to start is a myth. Success belongs to those who have the courage to start with what they have and figure out the rest as they go. The narrative then takes a sharp, provocative turn into the social realm, the admiration of the wealthy. The poor and middle class are often programmed to resent the rich. They see a wealthy person and feel a pang of jealousy, often masking it with moral superiority. They whisper that the person must have cheated or gotten lucky. Ika warns that this is a fatal error. You cannot become that which you resent. If you see a rich person and feel negative energy, you are sending a message to your subconscious that being rich is bad, and your subconscious will ensure you stay poor to keep you good. The rich, however, admire and model other rich and successful people. They see a billionaire and think, if they can do it, I can do it, too. They view success as a map to be followed, not a reason for bitterness. The lesson learned is that you must bless that which you want. If you see someone with a beautiful house, bless the person and bless the house. This aligns your energy with abundance rather than lack. The storytelling reaches a peak of intensity when it discusses the size of the person. Most people fail because they are smaller than their problems. When a challenge arises, they feel overwhelmed and defeated. But the secret of the rich is not that they have fewer problems, it's that they have grown themselves to be bigger than their problems. If you are a level 10 person, a level 5 problem is just a minor inconvenience. If you are a level 2 person, that same problem is a catastrophe. The analysis here is a call to constant self-growth. Your income can only grow to the extent that you do. The rich focus on their own development, their character, their mindset, and their skills, knowing that a big person can handle any size problem. The lesson is to stop focusing on the size of the problem and start focusing on the size of the person in the mirror. As the first part of this script concludes, we see the architecture of the millionaire mind taking shape. It is a world where internal blueprints dictate external realities, where responsibility is the foundation of power, and where the size of one's thinking determines the size of one's bank account. We are no longer looking at money as a commodity to be hoovered up, but as a reflection of a specific state of being. The stage is set to move from the theory of mindset into the hard mechanics of how the rich manage their world, how they choose to be paid, and how they ultimately win the game by playing by a set of rules that the poor don't even know exist. The janitor of our own lives is being replaced by the architect, and the blueprint is being rewritten in ink that cannot be erased. The transformation shifts from the internal landscape to the external battlefield of commerce and self-worth, where the millionaire mind begins to manifest intangible, often controversial choices. One of the most defining characteristics of this transition is how a person views the value of their own life force. Ika highlights a fundamental rift. The poor choose to be paid based on time, while the rich choose to be paid based on results. The poor dad archetype within our collective consciousness clings to the security of a steady paycheck, a guaranteed hourly wage that promises safety but delivers a ceiling. When you are paid for your time, your income is inherently limited by the number of hours in a day. You have turned your life into a commodity with a fixed expiration date. The rich, however, understand the law of leverage. They demand to be paid for the value they create, the products they sell, or the performance of their business. They don't have a ceiling because their results are not tethered to the clock. The analysis of this choice reveals a deep-seated fear in the hearts of the masses, the fear of not being good enough to perform. Most people settle for a salary because they need the guarantee of a paycheck to soothe their anxiety. But the rich have a different kind of security, the security of their own ability to deliver. They understand that there is no such thing as safety in a world of inflation and corporate downsizing. The only real security is the ability to produce results. The lesson learned is that if you want to be wealthy, you must remove the cap on your income. You must find a way to get paid for your output rather than your input, whether through commissions, profit sharing, or business ownership. The millionaire mind seeks a world where the potential is infinite. This requires a terrifying but liberating shift in identity, moving from a worker who sells minutes to a provider who sells solutions. As the narrative of the wealth files continues, we encounter the polarizing concept of promotion. In a society that often views self-promotion as arrogant or tacky, the rich stand out by being willing and enthusiastic promoters of themselves and their value. Ika describes the person who has a brilliant product or service but refuses to tell anyone about it because they don't want to be pushy. This person is destined for a life of quiet desperation and mediocrity. The rich, conversely, are leaders. And all great leaders are great promoters. They believe in their value so deeply that they feel it is their duty to share it with as many people as possible. If you truly have a cure for a disease, would you be too shy to tell people about it? Of course not. The analysis here suggests that a distaste for promotion is often a sign of low self-esteem or a past trauma related to a bad sales experience. If you don't believe in yourself or your product, you won't promote it. But if you do believe in your value, you will shout it from the rooftops. The lesson learned is that your wealth is directly tied to your visibility. You cannot be a secret success. You must become a person who can communicate value with passion and conviction. To grow rich, you must become a master of marketing and sales. Because even the best idea in the world is worthless if it remains trapped in the silence of its creator's mind. The storytelling then dives into the mechanics of receiving. This is a spiritual bottleneck for many. Most people are excellent givers but terrible receivers. They have been programmed with a not worthy file. When someone gives them a compliment, they deflect it. When an opportunity for money arises, they feel guilty or find a way to push it away. Ika argues that for every giver, there must be a receiver. If you refuse to receive, you are blocking the flow of the universe and insulting the giver. The rich, however, are excellent receivers, who understand that they are worthy of wealth simply because they decide they are. Worthiness is not a grade given by a teacher, it is a story you tell yourself. The analysis of this principle reveals that money will only stay where it is welcome. If you have a subconscious program that says you don't deserve to be rich, your mind will find creative ways to get rid of the money. You might lose your wallet, have a sudden car repair, or make a foolish impulse buy. The lesson is that you must practice being a great receiver. When someone gives you a compliment, say thank you. When you find a penny on the street, celebrate it. By becoming an excellent receiver, you signal to the universe that you are open to the abundance of life. You realize that being worthy is a choice, and once you choose it, the floodgates of opportunity begin to creak open. The narrative reaches a critical juncture with the concept of total net worth. While the poor and middle class are obsessed with working income, the amount on their paycheck, the rich focus exclusively on their total net worth. This is the sum of everything you own minus everything you owe. It includes your cash, your investments, your real estate, and your business interests. Awaken emphasizes the 4 pillars of net worth: income, both working and passive; savings, investments, and simplification, the ability to live on less so you can invest more. Most people only focus on the first pillar. They are like a person trying to walk on one leg. They work harder and harder for more income, but because they have no savings or investments, they remain on the treadmill. The analysis of this focus reveals that what you track grows. If you track your paycheck might grow. But if you track your net worth, your entire financial life will expand. The rich understand the Parkinson's law that expenses will always rise to meet income unless you have the discipline to divert that income into the asset column. The lesson learned is that to be wealthy, you must become a financial architect who monitors the entire structure of their wealth. You must learn to value your passive income, the money that comes in while you sleep, more than your working income. This leads to the ultimate goal, the point where your passive income exceeds your expenses. This is the definition of true financial freedom. And it is a result that can only be achieved by focusing on the net worth file. This focus leads directly into the most famous tool in the Awaken arsenal, the 6 jars money management system. The story of the man who earns $1 million and still goes bankrupt is a common one. Why? Because he didn't have a system. The rich manage their money well, the poor mismanage their money. Many people claim they will start managing their money once they have enough. But Awaken argues that it is the other way around. You must manage what you have now to be given more. The jars system is a psychological and practical masterstroke that ensures every dollar has a purpose. It divides your income into specific buckets: 55% for necessities, 10% for long-term savings for spending, 10% for education, 10% for play, 10% for your financial freedom account, the golden goose that is never spent, only invested, and 5% for giving. The analysis of this system is about creating a habit of wealth. It doesn't matter if you are managing $10 or 10,000. The act of dividing the money into these jars rewires your brain. It tells your subconscious that you are a money manager. The play jar is especially vital. It is designed to be spent every single month on something that makes you feel rich: a massage, a fancy dinner, or a luxury item. This satisfies the spirit and prevents the subconscious from rebelling against the discipline of saving. The lesson learned is that financial success is 10% skill and 90% habit. If you can manage your money, you can master your life. The system is a bridge between the blueprint of the mind and the reality of the bank account. As we stand at the transition to the final act, the millionaire mind has moved from a quiet internal shift to a loud, disciplined external structure. We have seen the power of results over time, the necessity of promotion, the grace of receiving, and the clinical precision of net worth and money management. The script of the old self is being shredded, page by page, and in its place is a manual for a life of abundance. The final part of this journey will explore the ultimate obstacle, the fear that keeps the blueprint locked in the past, and the final, weighty realization of what it truly means to be a master of the game. The heat of the internal thermostat is rising, and the old comfort zone is melting away, making room for a reality that was always right in front of us. The final barrier between the blueprint and the bank account is the paralyzing, suffocating grip of the comfort zone. As the narrative of Awaken's philosophy reaches its climax, we find the aspiring millionaire standing on the edge of a precipice. Most people fail not because they lack the intelligence to succeed, but because they are unwilling to be uncomfortable. They are programmed to seek safety, to avoid the unknown, and to stay within the familiar boundaries of their current life. But ego's ultimate realization is a shock to the system. If you are only willing to do what is easy, life will be hard. But if you are willing to do what is hard, life will be easy. The rich dad and millionaire mind archetypes converge here, revealing that the only time you are actually growing is when you are outside your comfort zone. The analysis of this psychological threshold reveals that fear is the great gatekeeper of wealth. The poor and middle class allow fear to stop them. They wait until they feel confident or safe before they take action. But the rich have a different relationship with fear. They act in spite of fear. They act in spite of doubt. They act in spite of inconvenience. They realize that fear is a natural byproduct of growth, a sign that they are expanding into a larger version of themselves. The lesson learned is that your comfort zone is exactly equal to your wealth zone. If you want to expand your bank account, you must expand your comfort zone. This requires a brutal level of self-discipline, a willingness to be a warrior of the mind who can observe their own fearful thoughts and choose to proceed anyway. You must train your mind to be bigger than your feelings. The storytelling concludes with the concept of continuous learning. Eka notes that the most dangerous 3 words in the English language are "I know that." The moment you believe you know everything, you stop growing. And the moment you stop growing, you begin to die, both spiritually and financially. The poor dad believes he is educated because he has a degree from 30 years ago. The rich dad knows that the world is constantly changing and that he must remain a perpetual student. The rich invest in their own education, attending seminars, reading books, and hiring coaches, because they understand that they are their own greatest asset. If they can improve themselves by even 1%, the returns on that investment will compound for a lifetime. The analysis of this final wealth file suggests that the rich are masters of the soft and hard skills of life. They don't just learn how to make money, they learn how to be the kind of person who makes money. They understand that success is not something you do, but something you attract by the person you become. This leads to the ultimate synthesis of the book's message: the inner world creates the outer world. Your bank account is merely a printout of your internal programming. If you want a different printout, you don't scream at the paper, you go back to the computer and change the software. The core message of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is that your financial destiny is determined by a subconscious money blueprint that must be consciously identified, dismantled, and rewritten through the adoption of 17 wealth files and a disciplined system of money management. It intends to convey that wealth is a mental game played first in the shadows of the subconscious, and only those who take 100% responsibility for their internal thermostat can ever hope to command their external reality. By choosing to think, act, and receive like a millionaire, you bridge the gap between where you are and where you are destined to be. The secret to success is not to try to avoid or get rid of or shrink from your problems. The secret is to grow yourself so that you are bigger than any problem.